The final battle for the Korthak capital world began at dawn, on a day that would be remembered across the galaxy for centuries. Admiral Jiwoo watched from the bridge of her flagship as 800 human warships faced the largest enemy fleet ever assembled. "Admiral, enemy forces number over 400 ships," reported Fleet Commander Sung Ho. "They have positioned themselves in defensive formations around the capital world." Admiral Jiwoo studied the tactical display. The Korthaks had learned from their previous defeats and were no longer trying to protect multiple scattered targets. They had gathered every available ship to make their final stand. "What about the prison facilities on the planet's surface?" she asked. Intelligence Officer Hyuk pointed to locations on the planetary map. "Our infiltration teams report that most prisoners are being held in the Imperial Detention Center in the capital city. That includes Commander Taemin. Estimated prisoner count? Over 50,000 beings from dozens of different species. The facility is heavily fortified and surrounded by military installations." Admiral Jiwoo knew this would be the most difficult part of their mission. The Korthaks were using the prisoners as shields, hoping that the humans would not attack if it meant risking innocent lives. "Signal all ships," she ordered. "Begin Operation Final Dawn. Remember, our goal is to save lives, not destroy them." The battle began when human fighters launched from carrier ships and engaged the Korthak defensive screen. Captain Minsu led his squadron in precise attacks that disabled enemy weapons without destroying entire ships. "Focus on their command and communication systems," Minsu ordered his pilots. "We need to break their coordination, not their hulls." The space battle was unlike anything seen before in galactic history. Human ships moved in complex patterns that confused the Korthak defenders, while human weapons targeted specific systems with surgical precision. Commander Yoon-ji coordinated the marine assault on the planet's surface. Thousands of human soldiers landed in drop pods around the capital city, moving quickly to secure strategic positions. "Remember, many of the Korthak soldiers are probably conscripts from conquered species," Yoon-ji reminded her troops. "Give them a chance to surrender before engaging." On the planet's surface, General Vex Karal sat in his fortified command bunker, watching his defenses crumble under the human assault. He could not understand how the humans fought with such precision while still showing mercy to defeated enemies. "Sir, human forces have surrounded the detention center," reported his aide. "They are demanding that we release all prisoners immediately." "Never," Vex Karal snarled. "Bring the human prisoner to me. If his people want him so badly, they can watch him die." In the deepest section of the Imperial Detention Center, Taemin had become a source of hope for thousands of imprisoned beings. Despite months of torture and interrogation, he had never stopped encouraging his fellow prisoners. "Can you hear that?" he asked an elderly prisoner from a species called the Morlax. "Those are human weapons. They have come for us." The Morlax prisoner shook his head sadly. "Even if they defeat the guards, how can they find us down here?" "This place is like a maze," Taemin smiled. "Humans are very good at solving puzzles, especially when their friends are depending on them." Above them, human special forces teams were already infiltrating the detention center. They had studied the facility's layout for weeks and knew exactly where the prisoners were being held. Lieutenant Wu Jin led one of the infiltration teams through the complex ventilation system. His squad moved silently through narrow metal passages, guided by detailed maps that intelligence had provided. "Heat signatures show large groups of prisoners 3 levels down," he whispered into his communication device. "Guard positions are exactly where our intelligence predicted." The human team struck simultaneously at 17 different points in the detention center. They used non-lethal weapons whenever possible, seeking to disable guards rather than kill them. When the cell doors began opening, many prisoners could not believe what they were seeing. Humans in advanced armor were moving through the corridors, calling out in dozens of different languages. "You are safe now. We are here to take you home." Taemin was in a high-security cell when Lieutenant Wu Jin found him. The human soldier carefully cut through the electronic locks while Taemin watched in amazement. "Commander Taemin?" the soldier asked. "I am Lieutenant Wu Jin of the Terran Marine Corps. Admiral Jiwoo sent us to bring you home." Taemin tried to stand, but his legs were too weak from months of imprisonment. "How did you find this place?" "You left very detailed notes about Korthak prison systems in your message," Wu Jin replied, helping Taemin to his feet. "Our intelligence teams used your information to map every detention facility in their empire." "The other prisoners," Taemin began. Are all being evacuated, Wu Jin assured him. Every single person in this facility will be free within the hour. As human forces secured the detention center, General Vex Corral made one final desperate attempt to maintain control. He activated the facility's self-destruction system, hoping to kill the prisoners rather than let them be rescued. But the humans had planned for this possibility. Engineering teams led by specialist Dong Wu had already identified and disabled the explosive devices throughout the complex. General Vex Corral, came a voice over the facility's communication system. This is Admiral Jiwoo of the Human Defense Forces. Your self-destruction system has been neutralized. Surrender now and your remaining troops will be treated with honor. Vex Corral's response was to grab his personal weapon and charge toward the prisoner evacuation area. He was determined to kill as many freed slaves as possible before the humans could stop him. He never reached his target. Commander Yunji and her Marines had positioned themselves between the former prisoners and any potential threats. When Vex Corral appeared with his weapon raised, they acted with swift efficiency. The general who had murdered Captain Hera and enslaved thousands of innocent beings fell to the floor of his own prison. His reign of terror was over. Within hours, every prisoner in the Imperial Detention Center had been evacuated to human medical ships. Taemin was reunited with Bora Do-hyun and So Young in the ship's main medical bay. I told you help would come, Taemin said as Bora checked his injuries with gentle hands. You did, Bora replied, tears streaming down her face. But I never imagined anything like this. 800 ships to rescue a few thousand prisoners. Do-hyun shook his head in wonder. Your people traveled across the galaxy because we showed kindness to one human. That is what humans do, Taemin explained. When someone shows us friendship, we never forget. When someone hurts our friends, we never forgive. So Young looked out through the medical bay window at the human fleet surrounding them. What happens now? Admiral Jiwoo answered that question when she arrived to personally check on the rescued prisoners. She had requested to meet the Villani who had saved Commander Taemin's life. What happens now, she said, is that we help you rebuild your lives and your worlds. The Korthak Empire is finished. Every slave camp has been liberated. Every conquered species has been freed. But why did you do so much for us? Bora asked. We are strangers to your people. Admiral Jiwoo smiled. You stopped being strangers the moment you decided to help a dying human in an escape pod. That act of kindness created a bond between our species that can never be broken. Over the following months, the aftermath of Operation Gratitude reshaped the political structure of the galaxy. The Korthak Empire collapsed completely, its former territories becoming independent worlds or joining the new Galactic Cooperation Initiative. The rescued species worked together to establish a new form of interstellar government, based on mutual aid and protection. Humans and Villani became the founding members, but dozens of other species joined as equal partners. Captain Hara was honored posthumously as the first recipient of the Human Villani Friendship Medal. A memorial statue showing him extending his hand to help Taemin was built on both Earth and SciFiPrime. The statue's inscription read, "In memory of those who show kindness to strangers, and in honor of those who never forget such kindness." Taemin eventually became the human ambassador to SciFiPrime, where he worked to strengthen the bonds between the two species. He often visited the memorial statue and told visitors the story of how one act of compassion had changed the fate of millions of beings. Bora established a new medical school that taught healing techniques from dozens of different species. Her first class included both human and Villani students working together to advance the science of helping others. Do-hyun became the chief engineer on a new type of ship, vessels designed and built jointly by humans and Villani. These ships explored the galaxy not as conquerors but as helpers, offering aid to any species that needed assistance. So Young returned to her homeworld and became a leader in the new Villani government. She worked to ensure that her people would never again be defenseless against those who sought to harm them. The Gentle Current II, the first joint human-Villani exploration vessel, launched 5 years after the liberation. Its mixed crew included members of 17 different species, all united by the belief that kindness and cooperation were stronger than hatred and conquest. The largest military fleet in known galactic history moved through space like a storm of metal and fury. 847 human warships, accompanied by medical vessels, supply ships, and reconstruction craft, traveled toward Korthak space with one purpose: to free every enslaved being in the Empire. Admiral Jiwoo stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UHS Determination. Around her, officers worked at control stations that coordinated the movements of over 2 million human personnel. "Admiral, we are approaching the edge of Korthak territory," reported Navigation Officer Minsu. "Long-range scanners show multiple enemy patrol ships ahead. Any response to our broadcasts?" Admiral Jiwoo asked. Communication Officer Eunji shook her head. "We have been transmitting our message on all Korthak frequencies for the past 6 hours. No official response, but we are picking up a lot of panicked chatter between their ships. The message that humanity had been broadcasting was simple and direct. You imprisoned our friend. You enslaved his rescuers. We are coming." Fleet Commander Sung-ho joined Admiral Jiwoo at the main display screen. "Intelligence reports that the Korthaks are scrambling their forces, but they seem confused about our intentions. They cannot believe we would launch such a massive operation for one captured human and a handful of alien traders. They are about to learn something important about human nature." Admiral Jiwoo replied. "Captain Minsu, signal all ships. We enter Korthak space in 1 hour. Rules of engagement are clear. Disable when possible, destroy when necessary, but protect the prisoners at all costs." On the prison world of Korthak, General Vex Corral sat in his command center, staring at reports of the approaching human fleet. He could not understand why the humans were willing to risk so much for such a small number of prisoners. "General, the humans have over 800 warships," his aide reported nervously. "Our intelligence says they have never assembled a fleet this large before." Vex Corral snarled in frustration. "It makes no sense. Why would they care about a few worthless slaves? The human we captured is just one individual among billions of his species." He opened a communication channel to the prison section where Timon was being held. "Bring the human to my office immediately." 15 minutes later, Korthak guards dragged Timon into the general's command room. The human looked thin and weak after months of captivity, but his eyes were still defiant. "Your people are coming," Vex Corral said. 800 ships to rescue one man. "Explain this madness to me." Timon smiled despite his pain. "They are not coming just for me, General. They are coming for everyone you have enslaved." "Impossible. No species would risk so much for strangers." "You still do not understand," Timon replied. "The Villani who saved me are not strangers anymore. When someone shows kindness to a human, they become part of our family, and humans protect their family." General Vex Corral struck Timon across the face. "Your family is about to be destroyed. My forces will turn your precious fleet into scrap metal." "Maybe," Timon said, wiping blood from his lip. "But you should have left my friends alone." The first battle began at the Korthak border fortress called Korhex. Captain Minsu led the assault fleet against the enemy defensive positions, while Commander Eunji coordinated rescue operations. The human ships moved with precision that amazed even their own crews. Years of training and preparation had created a military force that fought like a single organism. "Target their weapon systems first," Captain Minsu ordered his gunners. "We need those prison ships intact." The Korthak defenders fought bravely, but they had never faced an enemy like the humans. Human pilots flew their ships in ways that seemed impossible. Human tactical officers predicted enemy moves before the Korthaks made them. Human Marines fought with a combination of advanced technology and fierce determination. Within 6 hours, the border fortress had fallen. The humans found 3,000 prisoners in the facility's slave pens, including 200 Villani. Commander Eunji personally oversaw the liberation of the prison section. When the doors opened and the slaves saw humans in military uniforms, many began to cry with relief. "You are safe now," Eunji told them through translation devices. "We are here to take you home." An elderly Villani prisoner approached her cautiously. "Are you really human? Like the one called Timon?" "Yes," Eunji replied. "We are here because of what your people did for him." The old Villani's eyes filled with tears. One act of kindness has brought salvation to thousands. News of the border fortress victory spread quickly through both human and Korthak space. The human fleet continued its advance, liberating slave camps on planet after planet. On each world they freed, the humans left behind medical teams, engineers, and supplies to help the former prisoners rebuild their lives. They also gathered information about other prison camps and the location of more enslaved peoples. General Vex Corral received increasingly desperate reports from his subordinates. "General, the humans have freed 17 prison camps in the past week. They are moving too fast for us to organize proper defenses." "What about our main battle fleet?" Vex Corral demanded. "Admiral Corvex is gathering our forces at the capital system, but the humans are avoiding direct confrontation with large fleet groups. They strike fast at our prison worlds and disappear before we can respond." Vex Corral realized that the humans were using a strategy he had never seen before. Instead of trying to conquer territory, they were focused entirely on freeing prisoners. This made their movements unpredictable and their goals unclear to traditional military thinking. "Increase security around all remaining prison facilities," he ordered. "If the humans want to rescue slaves, we will make sure they pay a heavy price for each camp they attack." But the humans were already adapting their tactics. Intelligence teams had infiltrated Korthak communication networks and were providing detailed information about guard positions and prisoner locations. On Korvash, where Bora worked in the medical facility, human special forces landed quietly in the night. They had studied the prison layout for weeks and knew exactly where to strike. Bora was treating wounded slaves when she heard explosions outside the medical tent. Korthak guards began shouting orders and running toward the sounds of battle. "What is happening?" asked an injured prisoner from another species. Before Bora could answer, human soldiers appeared at the entrance to the medical tent. They wore advanced armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. "Are you Bora of the Villani species?" asked the lead soldier. Bora stared in shock. "Yes, I am Bora. How do you know my name?" The soldier removed his helmet, revealing a human face with kind eyes. "Commander Taman told us about you. He said you saved his life." Tears began flowing down Bora's blue cheeks. "Taman is alive? Is he with you?" "He is still a prisoner, but we will find him," the soldier replied. "Right now we are here to take you home. All of you." Within hours, every slave on Korvash had been freed. Human medical ships took the former prisoners aboard and began providing treatment for years of abuse and malnutrition. Similar scenes played out across dozens of Korthak worlds. The human fleet moved like a force of nature, unstoppable and relentless in their mission to free the enslaved. Do-hyun was rescued from the mines of Korthax by human engineers, who had to fight through collapsed tunnels to reach the deepest prisoner sections. When they found him, he was helping other slaves escape from a cave-in. "You must be Do-hyun," said the human engineer who pulled him from the rubble. Taman described your problem-solving skills. Do-hyun laughed through his exhaustion. He promised help would come. "I never imagined it would be like this." So Young was freed from her data processing facility when human cyber warfare specialists took control of the entire prison complex computer system. They unlocked every cell and disabled every security system in less than 10 minutes. "The human who was captured with us," So Young asked her rescuers. "Do you know where he is?" "We are tracking him," replied the human officer. "Our intelligence suggests he is being held at the Imperial capital. That will be our final target." As the human fleet approached the heart of Korthak space, they had already freed over 400,000 prisoners from 57 different worlds. The rescued beings included dozens of species that the Korthaks had conquered over the decades. But Admiral Jiwoo knew that the hardest battle was still ahead. The Korthak capital world would be heavily defended, and General Vex Corral would make his final stand there. "All ships, this is Admiral Jiwoo," she announced to the fleet. "We have come far and accomplished much, but our mission is not complete. Commander Taman and thousands of other prisoners are still waiting for us to bring them home." She paused, looking out at the stars that now seemed closer to freedom than they had been in decades. The Korthaks believe that strength comes from making others weak. Today we show them that true strength comes from lifting others up. Today we finish what we came here to do. The human fleet began its final approach to the Korthak capital system, where the fate of two species would be decided in the space between the stars. 6 months had passed since the Korthak Empire captured the crew of the Gentle Current. The surviving Villani were scattered across different prison camps on worlds throughout Korthak space. Bora worked in a medical facility on a hot planet called Korvash. Every day she treated injured slaves and tried to keep them healthy enough to work. The conditions were terrible, but she did her best to ease the suffering of others. The Korthak guards were cruel to all the prisoners. but they found Bora useful because of her medical skills. They allowed her to live in slightly better conditions than the other slaves. "Move faster, Blue Skin," shouted a Korthak guard as Bora carried medical supplies across the prison camp. "The injured workers need treatment so they can return to the mines." Bora hurried to the medical tent where dozens of wounded slaves waited for help. Many were Vellani like herself, but there were also members of other species that the Korthaks had conquered. She worked through the day, treating burns from mining accidents and injuries from heavy labor. As she bandaged wounds and gave medicine, she thought about her friends from the gentle current. Du Hyun was working in the terrible mines of Korthex, a cold planet where prisoners dug rare metals from deep underground tunnels. The work was dangerous and many slaves died from cave-ins or poisonous gases. Each day, Du Hyun used his engineering knowledge to make small improvements to the mining equipment. The Korthak guards did not care why the machines worked better, only that more metal was extracted. At night, Do Hyun lay on his hard sleeping mat and remembered the peaceful days aboard the gentle current. He wondered if Taimin was still alive, and if his promise about help coming had been real. So Young was on a different world called Cornex, where she worked in a data processing center. Her job was to analyze star charts and communication intercepts for the Korthak military. The work was not as physically difficult as mining, but So Young hated helping the enemy understand space routes that could be used to attack more innocent worlds. She tried to work slowly and make small mistakes that would not be noticed. Late at night, when the guards were not watching closely, So Young would stare through the small window of her prison dormitory. She looked up at the stars and remembered Taimin's words about help coming. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Taimin's message had finally reached human space. The signal was picked up by a communication station orbiting Mars and immediately forwarded to Earth's military headquarters. Admiral Jiwoo sat in her office in the Human Defense Command Center, reading the message for the third time. She was the experienced military leader who had spent 20 years protecting human colonies from various threats. "This is remarkable," she said to her aide, Intelligence Officer Hyuk. "A completely unknown alien species rescued one of our people and asked for nothing in return." Hyuk nodded as he studied the detailed files that Taimin had sent. "The cultural analysis is fascinating, Admiral. These Vellani appear to be genuinely peaceful and altruistic. And look at this medical data." Admiral Jiwoo examined the medical information that Taimin had gathered during his recovery. "Their biotechnology is incredibly advanced. This healing technique could save millions of human lives. Yet they shared it freely with Commander Taimin without asking for payment or trade agreements," Hyuk pointed out. "That level of generosity is almost unknown in galactic politics." The Admiral stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over Earth's capital city. "What do we know about these Korthaks that captured our man?" Fleet Commander Sung Ho entered the office carrying a thick report. He was Admiral Jiwoo's top strategic advisor and had been researching the Korthak Empire since the message arrived. "The Korthaks are a militaristic empire that has been expanding for over 50 years, Sung Ho reported. "They practice slavery and genocide on a massive scale. Intelligence estimates suggest they have conquered at least 40 different species." "Military capabilities?" Admiral Jiwoo asked. "Substantial, but not overwhelming. They rely on fear and intimidation more than advanced technology. Their ships are powerful, but poorly coordinated. Their ground forces are brutal, but lack strategic thinking." Admiral Jiwoo studied the star charts that showed Korthak territory. What would it take to launch a rescue operation for Commander Taimin and the Vellani who saved him? Sung Ho had been hoping she would ask that question. "I have been working on preliminary plans, Admiral. It would require a significant commitment of ships and personnel." "How significant?" "To guarantee success and minimize casualties, I would recommend a full battle fleet. 800 ships minimum, with support vessels for medical aid and reconstruction efforts." Intelligence Officer Hyuk looked surprised. "Admiral, that would be the largest military operation in human history. The cost would be enormous." Admiral Jiwoo turned away from the window and looked at both of her officers. "Let me ask you something. What kind of species saves a dying stranger when they have nothing to gain from it?" "A remarkable one," Hyuk admitted. "And what kind of species stands by and does nothing when those remarkable people are enslaved and murdered?" Neither officer answered, but they both understood her point. Commander Taman's files show that these Villani people represent the best qualities we hope to find as we explore the galaxy, the Admiral continued. They showed compassion, intelligence, and genuine goodness to one of our people when he was helpless. She walked back to her desk and opened Taman's personal message. Listen to what he wrote. The Villani showed mercy to one human when they had nothing to gain from it. I believe humanity should remember this kindness. Admiral Jiwoo closed the file and looked at her officers. How can we call ourselves civilized if we ignore this call for help? Fleet Commander Sung Ho smiled. Admiral, are you ordering Operation Rescue? I am ordering something much bigger than a rescue operation, Jiwoo replied. I want you to prepare Operation Gratitude. We are going to liberate every slave camp in Korthak space and free every species they have conquered. Hyuk stared at her. Admiral, the political implications of such an operation would be enormous. We would be declaring war on an entire empire. The Korthaks declared war on civilization when they started enslaving innocent people, Jiwoo answered. We are just going to finish what they started. She activated her communication system and contacted the president of the Human Federation. Madam President, I need to brief you on an urgent military matter. We have a moral obligation that requires immediate action. Within hours, the message had reached the highest levels of human government. Emergency meetings were called, and military leaders from across human space were contacted. The debate was intense but brief. When the political leaders learned about the Villani rescue of Commander Taemin and the Korthak response, the decision was unanimous. 3 days later, Admiral Jiwoo addressed the largest gathering of human military officers in history. Representatives from every fleet, every marine division, and every special operations unit were present. Officers of the Human Defense Forces, she began, we have received a call for help from across the galaxy. A peaceful species called the Villani saved the life of one of our people when they could have easily ignored him. In return, they have been enslaved and murdered by an empire that believes only the strong deserve freedom. The room was completely silent as she continued. Commander Taemin, the man they saved, sent us detailed information about these people and their situation. He reminded us that the Villani showed mercy when they had nothing to gain from it. Admiral Jiwoo paused and looked around the room at the faces of humanity's finest military leaders. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity does when someone shows kindness to one of our own. We are launching Operation Gratitude, the largest military operation in our history. The goal is simple, she continued. We will destroy the Korthak Empire, free every slave camp, and rescue every species they have conquered. We will show the galaxy that kindness is never forgotten, and that those who abuse the innocent will face the consequences. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Every officer in the room understood that they were about to make history. Within days, ships began gathering from every corner of human space. The largest fleet ever assembled by any species was taking shape, and its destination was Korthak territory. In the slave camps scattered across Korthak worlds, the prisoners had no knowledge of what was coming. But Bora, Do-hyun, and So-young continued to hold on to hope, remembering Taemin's promise that help would come. They did not know that 847 human warships were already on their way. The peaceful journey of the gentle current came to a sudden end on a quiet morning. So-young was at her navigation station when her screens began flashing with warning signals. Captain, we have ships approaching fast, she called out with fear in her voice. 3 large vessels coming from behind us. Captain Hera rushed to the bridge and looked at the display. The approaching ships were much bigger than the gentle current and looked like warships. Their dark metal hulls were covered with weapons. Are they trying to communicate with us? Hera asked. Do-hyun worked at the communication controls. Yes, Captain. They are ordering us to stop our engines and prepare to be boarded. Taemin had come to the bridge when he heard the alarm sounds. He looked at the enemy ships on the screen and his face became serious. Those are Korthak ships, the same design as the ones that attacked my exploration team. Hera felt his heart's beating fast. He had hoped to avoid the Korthaks during this journey, but now they had found his ship anyway. This is Captain Hera of the trading vessel Gentle Current. He spoke into the communication system. We are peaceful merchants carrying legal cargo. We wish no trouble with anyone. The response came back in a harsh, angry voice. This is General Vex Corral of the Korthak Imperial Navy. You have entered restricted space without permission. Prepare to be boarded immediately or we will destroy your ship. Hera looked at his crew. They were all frightened, but they waited for his orders. He knew that the gentle current could not outrun or outfight the Korthak warships. "We will comply," Hara said into the communication system. "Please do not harm my crew. We are not soldiers." "Shut down your engines and lower your shields," General Vex Karal commanded. "Any attempt to escape will result in your destruction." Within minutes, the Korthak ships had surrounded the gentle current. A large boarding craft attached itself to the side of the Villani ship. The crew could hear loud banging sounds as the Korthaks cut through their hull. "Stay calm," Hera told his crew. "Do what they ask and maybe they will let us go." The airlock door exploded inward, and Korthak soldiers poured into the ship. They were tall and muscular with gray skin and sharp teeth. They wore heavy armor and carried energy weapons that hummed with power. The Korthaks roughly pushed the Villani crew into the ship's main corridor. Their leader was even bigger than the other soldiers, with scars covering his face and arms. "I am General Vex Karal," he announced in a loud voice. "Your ship and everything on it now belongs to the Korthak Empire." Captain Hera stepped forward. "General, we are peaceful traders. We have done nothing wrong." Vex Karal struck Hera across the face with the back of his hand. The Villani captain fell to the floor, blood flowing from his nose. "You speak when I give you permission," the general snarled. "Weak species like yours exist to serve stronger ones like us." Taemin felt anger burning inside him, but he forced himself to stay still. He knew that fighting now would only get everyone killed. The Korthak soldiers began searching the ship and taking anything valuable. They found the trading goods in the cargo hold and declared that it all belonged to their empire now. General Vex Karal noticed Taemin standing with the Villani crew. "What species is this one? I have not seen anything like it before." One of the soldiers scanned Taemin with a handheld device. "The scanner identifies it as human, General. That is very unusual. Humans are rare in this sector of space." The general walked closer to Taemin and studied him carefully. "A human traveling with Villani traders? How interesting. I have heard stories about your species. Some say humans are fierce warriors." "I am not a warrior," Taemin said quietly. "I am an explorer." "These people saved me when my ship was attacked." Vex Karal laughed. "An explorer? And these weak Villani saved you? How pathetic. If you were truly strong, you would not need saving from inferior species." The general turned back to address all the prisoners. "Here is what will happen. This ship and its cargo now belong to the Korthak Empire. You will all be taken to our slave markets and sold to whoever wants to buy you." Bora stepped forward. "Please, General. We are medical personnel and peaceful traders. We have never hurt anyone." "Your peaceful nature is exactly why you deserve to be slaves," Vex Karal replied. "In the galaxy, only the strong have the right to be free. The weak exist to serve." He pointed at Captain Hera, who was still bleeding from his injured face. "This one will serve as an example to the others." Before anyone could react, General Vex Karal drew his energy weapon and shot Captain Hera. The kind Villani captain fell to the floor and did not move again. The crew members cried out in horror and grief. Bora ran to Hera's side, but it was too late. Their beloved captain was dead. "Let this be a lesson," the general announced. "Weakness is not tolerated in Korthak space. The rest of you will live only as long as you are useful as slaves." The soldiers began separating the prisoners into groups. Bora was put with other medical personnel. Do-hyun was grouped with engineers and technical workers. So-young was placed with navigation and communication specialists. General Vex Karal grabbed Taemin by the arm. "The human comes with me. My superiors will be interested in studying this species. You will be kept as a curiosity in our imperial collection." As the Korthaks prepared to transfer their prisoners to the warships, Taemin managed to whisper to Bora when the guards were not watching. "Remember what I told you about human promises?" he said quietly. "Help is coming." Bora looked confused. "What do you mean?" "Humans never forget when someone helps them, and we never abandon our friends." Before Bora could ask more questions, a Korthak soldier pulled Taemin away toward the boarding craft. As he was forced to leave the ship, Taemin looked back at the surviving crew members. "Do not give up hope," he called out to them. "This is not the end." The Korthak soldiers laughed at his words. "Hope is for the weak," one of them said. "You will learn better in the slave camps." General Vex Karal looked at the burning wreckage of the gentle current as his ships prepared to leave. The Villani trading vessel had been destroyed after everything valuable was taken from it. "Set course for the processing stations," he ordered his crew. "We have fresh slaves to sort and sell." As the Korthak ships jumped into hyperspace, they carried with them the surviving crew of the Gentle Current. The peaceful traders who had saved a human stranger were now prisoners themselves. But far away in space, Tayman's message was still traveling toward human territory. It carried with it the story of Villani kindness and the location of the species that had shown mercy to a dying explorer. Bora held on to Tayman's words as she sat in chains in the dark cargo hold of the Korthak ship. She did not understand what he meant about help coming, but she chose to believe him anyway. In another part of the ship, So Young whispered prayers to the Villani spirits, asking them to watch over Captain Hera's soul. She also prayed that somehow Tayman's promise would come true. Do-hyun sat in silence, mourning for his captain and his ship. But deep in his heart, he remembered the stories Tayman had told them about human loyalty and determination. Maybe, just maybe, the humans' words were true. General Vex Corral sat in his command chair, pleased with the day's work. He had captured valuable slaves and an interesting specimen for the Imperial collection. He had no way of knowing that this would be the worst mistake of his career. In the depths of space, a message continued its journey toward Earth, carrying news that would change the fate of two species forever. 3 weeks had passed since the crew of the Gentle Current rescued Tae-min from his damaged escape pod. The human had grown stronger each day and his burns were healing well. Bora was amazed at how quickly his body repaired itself. Tae-min spent his days learning about the Villani people and helping with work around the ship. He was curious about everything and asked many questions. The crew enjoyed teaching him about their culture and their peaceful way of life. On my world, Tae-min told Do-hyun as they worked together in the engine room, we have a saying, the best way to thank someone for help is to help others. Do-hyun smiled as he watched Tae-min repair a broken power cable. The human's hands were quick and clever, and he understood machines in ways that surprised the Villani engineer. You humans think differently about problems, Do-hyun said. When this cable broke last month, it took me 2 days to find a solution. You fixed it in 20 minutes, Tae-min laughed. Maybe I just got lucky. But humans are taught to try many different approaches when something does not work the first time. In the navigation room, So Young was teaching Tae-min about star charts and space travel. She pointed to different colored dots on her screen that showed safe paths between solar systems. We always take the peaceful routes, So Young explained. It takes longer, but we avoid areas where fighting happens. Tae-min studied the map carefully. What about these red zones? Why are they marked as dangerous? So Young's expression became sad. Those are places controlled by the Korthak Empire. They are the ones who attacked your ship. Tell me about them, Tae-min said quietly. So Young looked uncomfortable, but she answered. The Korthaks believe that only strong species deserve to live freely. They conquer weaker peoples and make them slaves. Many of our colonies have been taken by them. How many of your people have they captured? Hundreds of thousands, So Young replied. Maybe more. They take our children and teach them to forget their families. They force our adults to work in mines and factories until they die. Tae-min felt anger growing inside him, but he kept his voice calm. What does your government do about this? Our Council of Harmony tries to make peace deals with them. They believe that if we show the Korthaks kindness and respect, they will leave us alone. Has that worked? So Young shook her head. No, the Korthaks see our kindness as weakness. They take more of our worlds each year. That evening, Tae-min sat with Captain Hera in the ship's small dining area. They shared a meal of Villani food, which Tae-min had learned to enjoy even though it was very different from human cooking. So Young told me about your troubles with the Korthak Empire, Tae-min said. Hera nodded slowly. It is a difficult situation. We are not fighters like some species. Violence goes against everything we believe. But what happens when violent people refuse to listen to peaceful words? Hera was quiet for a long moment. I do not know. Our leaders hope that someday the Korthaks will change their ways. Tae-min set down his eating utensil. Captain, I want to help you contact my people. Humans have experience fighting bullies like the Korthaks. That is very kind of you, Tae-min, Hera replied. But we cannot ask your people to risk their lives for us. You have already given us so much just by being here. What do you mean? Hera smiled. Before we found you, I was starting to believe that all species in the galaxy were either predators or prey. You have shown us that there are others who believe in helping those who need it. My people would want to help, Tae-min insisted. When someone saves one of us, we do not forget. Perhaps, Hera said, but I will not burden your people with our problems. You have already done enough by showing us that kindness exists beyond our own species. After dinner, Taemin went to his small room. He sat at the desk and began writing on his personal communication device. He wrote detailed notes about everything he had learned about the Vellani people, their culture, their technology, their kindness, and their problems with the Korthax. He described how Captain Hera had risked his ship and crew to save a stranger. He wrote about Bora's skill in healing him even though she had never treated a human before. He explained how Do-hyun and So-young had welcomed him like family. Most importantly, he wrote about the Korthak threat and how the Vellani were too peaceful to defend themselves properly. He included star charts showing Korthak territory and the locations of Vellani colonies that had been attacked. When he finished writing, Taemin connected his device to the ship's communication system. He found the frequency that human ships used for emergency messages. The signal would take weeks or months to reach human space, but it would eventually get there. He recorded a message to go with his written report. This is Commander Taemin of the exploration ship Starwalker. I am alive and in the care of an alien species called the Vellani. They saved my life when they could have easily ignored my distress call. These people represent the best qualities that we hope to find in space: compassion, intelligence, and genuine goodness. He paused, thinking about everything the Vellani had done for him. The Vellani are now facing destruction from an empire called the Korthax. I am sending detailed information about both species. The Vellani showed mercy to one human when they had nothing to gain from it. I believe humanity should remember this kindness. Taemin sent the message into space and hoped it would reach the right people. The next morning, Bora found him in the medical bay where he often helped her organize supplies and equipment. You seem worried about something, she said. Are you feeling sick? No, I feel fine. You have taken very good care of me. Taemin continued sorting medical tools. Bora, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did Captain Hera decide to rescue me? Surely you knew it might be dangerous. Bora thought about the question. On HFY, our homeworld, there is an old saying. A person's worth is not measured by what they can do for you, but by what you will do for them when they can do nothing for you. That is a beautiful saying. When we found your escape pod, you were dying. You could not offer us anything in return for helping you. That made saving you the right thing to do. Taemin nodded. My people have a similar belief. We think that how you treat strangers shows your true character. What would humans have done if they found one of us in an escape pod? The same thing you did, Taemin replied without hesitation. Any human captain would have brought you aboard and done everything possible to help you. Bora smiled. Then perhaps our species are more alike than we appear. That afternoon, Taemin joined the crew for their daily meal together. It had become his favorite time of day. The Vellani told stories about their families and their home world. Taemin shared stories about Earth and human culture. On Earth, Taemin said, we have thousands of different languages and cultures. Sometimes groups of humans disagree with each other strongly. Do you fight wars with each other? So-young asked. We used to long ago, but we learned that working together makes us all stronger. Now we explore space as one people. How did you learn to work together? Do-hyun asked. Taemin thought about the question. We realized that the universe is very big and dangerous. If humans fight each other, we waste our strength. But if we help each other, we can face any challenge. Captain Hera listened quietly to these conversations. He was learning that humans and Vellani shared many of the same values, even though they looked different and came from different worlds. As the days passed, Taemin became more than just a rescued stranger. He became part of the crew's family. When problems arose, he helped solve them. When someone felt sad, he found ways to make them laugh. When work needed to be done, he was always ready to help. The crew began to forget that he was different from them. In their hearts, Taemin had become one of them. The stars looked peaceful through the window of the trading ship called Gentle Current. Captain Hera sat in his chair, watching the empty space around them. His blue skin glowed softly in the dim light of the bridge. Like all Vellani people, Hera believed in helping others and living in peace. Captain, we are picking up something strange, said So-young from her seat at the navigation controls. Her long fingers moved quickly over the glowing buttons. There is a small signal coming from somewhere nearby. Hera stood up and walked over to look at So-young's screen. The display showed a tiny blinking dot in the darkness of space. "What kind of signal is it?" "It looks like a distress call," So Young replied. "Very weak. Whatever is sending it does not have much power left." The other crew members on the bridge looked worried. Do-hyun, the ship's engineer, shook his head. "Captain, we should be careful. This sector of space is dangerous. Many bad things happen here." Hera thought for a moment. The Vellani people had rules about helping others in trouble. They could not just ignore someone who needed help. "Can you tell where the signal is coming from?" So Young worked at her controls for several minutes. "Yes, Captain." "It is an escape pod. Very small. It looks damaged and is drifting without power." "How far away is it?" Hara asked. "Not very far. We can reach it in about 20 minutes. Do-hyun looked even more worried. "Captain, what if this is a trap? Pirates sometimes use fake distress calls to catch trading ships like ours." Hara understood Do-hyun's fear. The Gentle Current was not a fighting ship. It carried goods from one planet to another and had only basic defenses. If pirates attacked them, they would have little chance to fight back. But Hara also knew what was right. "If someone is really in trouble, we must help them. That is who we are," he turned to So Young. "Take us to the escape pod, but be ready to run away quickly if something seems wrong." The Gentle Current changed course and moved toward the small blinking dot on the screen. As they got closer, So Young was able to get better pictures of what they were approaching. "Captain, it really is an escape pod," she said. "It looks very damaged. There are holes in the side and the power systems are almost dead." Through the main window, they could now see the escape pod with their own eyes. It was small and round, about the size of a large room. The metal surface was burned and twisted in many places. It spun slowly as it drifted through space. "Are there any life signs?" Hera asked. Bora, the ship's doctor, had come to the bridge when she heard about the rescue. She looked at her medical scanner and nodded slowly. "Yes, Captain. There is one person inside. The life signs are very weak, but they are still alive." "What species?" Do-hyun asked. Bora frowned as she looked at her readings. "I am not sure. The scanner shows something I have never seen before. The body temperature is different from ours and the heart beats in a strange pattern." Hara made his decision. "Bring the pod into our cargo bay. We will help whoever is inside." It took the crew 30 minutes to carefully pull the escape pod into their ship. The cargo bay filled with the sound of metal scraping against metal as the damaged pod settled onto the floor. Bora ran her scanner over the pod again. "The person inside is still alive, but barely. We need to get them out quickly." Do-hyun worked to open the pod's door. The metal was badly damaged and the controls did not work properly. Finally, with a loud hiss, the door opened. Inside the pod was a creature unlike any of them had ever seen. It had pale skin instead of the blue color of the Vellani. Its hair was black and grew only on the top of its head. The body shape was similar to theirs, but everything about it was different. "What is it?" So Young whispered. Bora was already scanning the unconscious creature with her medical tools. "I think this might be a human. I have heard stories about them, but I never thought I would see one." The human was badly hurt. Its skin was burned in many places, and it was very thin from not eating enough food. Bora could tell it had been in the escape pod for a long time. "Help me carry it to the medical bay," Bora said to Do-hyun. They carefully lifted the human and took it to the ship's small hospital room. Bora began working immediately to save its life. She gave it medicine for the burns and connected tubes to provide water and nutrients. For 3 days, the human did not wake up. Bora worked without rest, learning how to treat a species she had never seen before. The human's body was strange, but also amazing. It healed faster than any Vellani would, and it fought off infections that would kill other species. On the 4th day, the human's eyes opened. Hara was sitting next to the bed when it happened. The human looked around the room with confusion and fear. When it saw Hara's blue skin and different appearance, it tried to sit up quickly. "Easy," Hara said in a gentle voice. "You are safe. We found you in an escape pod." The human stared at him for a long moment, then it spoke in a language Hara did not understand. The words sounded harsh and quick. Bora came running when she heard voices. She had been working on a translation device. "Try this," she said, giving Hera a small machine. "Can you understand me now?" Hera asked, speaking into the device. The human's eyes grew wide when it heard Hera's words translated into its own language. It nodded slowly and spoke again. This time the translation device changed its words into Vellani language. "Where am I?"
Who are you people?
"You are on board our trading ship," Hera explained. We are Villani. We found your escape pod and brought you here to help you. The human tried to sit up again, moving more carefully this time. My name is Taman. I am human. Thank you for saving me. Over the next few hours, Taman told them his story. He had been part of a human exploration team when their ship was attacked by something called the Korthak Empire. His friends had been killed or captured, and he had escaped in the pod just before his ship was destroyed. I thought I was going to die out there, Taman said. I had been drifting for almost 2 weeks. My food ran out days ago. Hara felt sad hearing about Taman's lost friends. You are welcome to stay with us until we can find other humans to take you home. Taman looked surprised. You would do that for me? But you do not even know me. That does not matter, Hara replied. You needed help, so we helped you. That is what good people do. For the first time since waking up, Taman smiled.